The National Assembly on Tuesday passed a bill that would set up a dedicated special tribunal to handle insurrection cases stemming from former President Yoon Suk-yeol's approach to martial law order. In the U.S., President Donald Trump says his country will build a new series of heavily armed Navy battleships named after himself as part of a plan that he calls his new Golden Fleet. Also joining the project is South Korea shipbuilder Hanwha. South Korea, helped by the rising K-culture and boosted by K-pop Demon Hunters, has already seen its highest number of foreign visitors this year and is expecting more than 18.7 million overseas tourists by the end of 2025. The ruling Democratic Party's controversial bill to create a specialized tribunal to investigate and prosecute crimes of insurrection was passed by a majority vote in the National Assembly on Tuesday, after a filibuster by the People Power Party on Monday had briefly halted its passage. For more on this, we have our political correspondent An Sung-jin here in the studio. Welcome, Sung-jin.
Thanks for having me, Dami.
So, Sung-jin, before we go into the vote that took place today, give us a recap of what happened at yesterday's plenary session and what exactly this bill in discussion is all about.
Right, so just as you mentioned, this contentious bill in question is to establish a special tribunal for insurrection-related crimes. Now, this legislation provides criminal procedures for the offenses of insurrection, foreign aggression, and rebellion. The bill also deals with issues arising from the prosecution of former President Yoon Suk-yeol for his failed imposition of martial law. Now, the bill was put to vote after being introduced at the plenary session on Monday, but following a filibuster by the People Power Party, it was halted. The PPP kicked off the filibuster with a marathon speech that lasted for more than 21 hours. Now, this was not only the longest speech in constitutional history, but also the first time that the leader of the main opposition party delivered it. The PPP further argued that this move was a determined effort to block what it called a flawed law, asserting that the ruling party was seeking favorable rulings from appointing judges who aligned with its preferences.
And so the bill passed today, Sung-jin. What was the process like and what can we expect from now on?
Well, after the filibuster ended at 11:40 a.m. this morning, the vote was called for, and out of the 179 assembly members present, 175 voted in favor, 2 were against, and 2 abstained, while lawmakers from the PPP boycotted the session.
I hereby declare that the amendment to the Special Act on the establishment of a special martial law tribunal and the protection of whistleblowers regarding the martial law bid by Yoon Suk-yeol has been passed.
The PPP continued to argue that this was an attempt by the DP to take control of the judiciary.
I believe the intention is to create a special panel of judges who suit the tastes of the Democratic Party and from whom it can obtain the rulings it wants at any time.
The Democratic Party described the passage as an expected outcome.
To ensure focused investigations and swift judgments, we have enacted a law establishing a dedicated insurrection tribunal. We have also addressed concerns raised by the judiciary about its unconstitutionality.
Now, under the newly introduced bill, at least 2 specialized chambers will be established at both the Seoul Central District Court and the Seoul High Court. The composition of these chambers will be determined through internal judicial procedures. A judges' council at the 2 courts will set selection criteria, after which a case allocation committee established under Supreme Court rules will assign judges.
Now, after this vote was passed today, Sung-jin, another item agenda was faced with another filibuster yet again, though.
Right, so following the passage of the earlier bill that we've just talked about, the DP also proposed another bill known as the Act on the Eradication of False and Manipulated Information, which had earlier passed the National Assembly Legislation and Judiciary Committee. Though it was immediately placed on the agenda of the plenary session, the PPP once again launched a filibuster. The bill entails that if intent is proven in cases where illegal, false, or manipulated information is distributed online, one can face up to 5 times the valued amount of actual damage. Specifically, the bill defines illegal information as that which directly incites violence or discrimination against a specific individual or group, and that which severely promotes hatred and significantly undermines human dignity. In addition, even in cases where damages are difficult to prove, compensation of up to 50 million won may be imposed. Now, the ruling coalition plans to end the filibuster tomorrow afternoon and proceed with a vote.
Well, Sung-jin, we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. Thanks for coming in tonight. We appreciate it.
My pleasure as always.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced plans to build a new class of battleships, envisioning them as part of his Golden Fleet that would boost naval power, in line with a broader shipbuilding initiative with South Korea's Hanwha Ocean. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced plans to build a new series of battleships as part of a Golden Fleet to be built for the U.S. Navy. This announcement was made during a press conference on Monday local time from his Mar-a-Lago estate in Florida.
As Commander-in-Chief, it's my great honor to announce that I have approved a plan for the Navy to begin the construction of two brand new, very large, largest we've ever built, battleships. It'll be the fastest, the biggest, and by far 100 times more powerful than any battleship ever built.
The Trump-class USS Defiant ships, weighing between 30,000 and 40,000 tons, will be heavily armed with hypersonic missiles, nuclear cruise missiles, railguns, and high-powered lasers. The construction is expected to begin soon, with Trump saying they will be operational in 2.5 years. He said the project would begin with the construction of two such battleships, which will eventually be expanded to encompass 20 to 25 new vessels. As part of his Golden Fleet plan, Trump also mentioned the Navy's construction plan for a new class of frigates, for which the U.S. will work with a Korean company, namely Hanwha. Referring to Hanwha's investment of over $5 billion US, more than 7 trillion Korean won in its Philadelphia shipyard, Trump said the once great closed shipyard has now been reopened and is working with the U.S. Navy and private companies. When asked about the battleship's mission, Trump said it was not to counter China but everybody and to secure peace through strength. In fact, one expert said that although the Golden Fleet could be part of efforts to deal with China's growing naval capabilities, the announcement was more for domestic political consumption.
One of Trump's key slogans is the revival of manufacturing. I think the domestic political message behind this is even stronger, especially at a time when Trump's approval ratings are steadily declining. It seems he believes this could help create some momentum for a rebound.
He added that building these new naval vessels alone would be somewhat insufficient in containing China's maritime rise. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung held his first weekly cabinet meeting in Busan today, presenting his administration's vision for the city's future. Now, the meeting coincided with the opening of the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries, a relocated office in Busan. Our top office correspondent Song Yujin has the details.
From the center of South Korea's ocean economy to an economic, industrial, and logistics hub for Northeast Asia. That's the vision President Lee Jae-myung has laid out for the southern port city of Busan as he presided over a cabinet meeting in the city for the first time on Tuesday.
항만시설 확충, 고부가 가치 서비스 제공, 지역산업 성장 지원을 통해 부산과 동남권을 북극 항로 시대를 선도하는 주인공으로 만들겠습니다.
At the core of the plan is the development of the Arctic shipping route. Linking Asia and Europe through the Arctic Ocean, the route is expected to cut sailing distances and transit times by roughly 30% compared to the current route via the Suez Canal. The administration aims to transform Busan Port, which combines the north and new ports and ranks 7th globally in container traffic, into a key gateway for the route. To support the initiative, the Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries plans to build the Jinhae New Port, a next-generation megaport in neighboring Changwon City, where preliminary construction began this summer.
To secure a competitive edge over rival ports, we must rapidly expand port infrastructure on a global scale. By 2040, we will develop 15 container berths at the Jinhae New Port. We will also accelerate cooperation with the UAE on a physical AI-based smart port project and apply it directly to the port.
The Oceans Ministry also plans to establish large-scale ship repair and shipbuilding facilities in Busan to meet rising demand for icebreakers, ice-class vessels, and U.S. naval ship maintenance. And to ensure smooth implementation, the ministry, the project's control tower, has officially relocated to Busan.
우리 정부 출범 후에 첫 국무회의에서 제가 해수부를 연내 부산 이전을 하자라고 말씀드렸는데 국민들께 그리고 부산 시민들께 그 약속을 지키게 됐습니다.
The ministry's temporary headquarters in Busan opened on the same day. 송유진, Arirang News.
Amid the signs of weakness in the Korean won against foreign currencies, the government and relevant agencies are stepping up their efforts to stabilize the foreign exchange market. Park Jun-han explains.
The authorities here are intensifying their efforts to stabilize the foreign exchange market as the South Korean won continues its downward trend against major currencies. South Korea's currency has fallen to an 8-month low against the US dollar, with the greenback closing the market at 1,483.61 on Tuesday. This is just 0.51 lower than the year-to-date closing record set on April 9th. Looking at the dollar index, which tracks the U.S. currency against 6 major currencies, the won has stayed in the high 1,400 range, even as the index fell more than 10% since January to around 98. Also, the British pound's value exceeded 2,001 during the day, hitting the highest record since the 2009 global financial crisis. The Bank of Korea recently explained that the recent rise in the dollar in asset markets stems from a supply shortage, where demand for foreign assets is increasing, but dollars are not being released into the market. According to the Bank of Korea's Financial Stability Report on Tuesday, individual investors from July through October showed a distinct opposite trading pattern, net selling 23 trillion won, or about $15.5 billion worth of domestic stocks, while net buying $10.3 billion worth of foreign shares. When net purchases of domestically listed foreign exchange traded funds, totaling 6.1 trillion won, are included for the same period, the concentration of retail investors' overseas stock investments becomes even more pronounced. The government signaled a strong commitment to cooling rising demand for foreign assets. Last Thursday, at a foreign exchange market meeting for export companies, Presidential Chief of Staff for Policy Kim Yong-bum summoned executives from 7 major conglomerates, including Samsung, SK, and Hyundai Motor, for an emergency meeting. At the meeting, Kim directly requested global exporters to cooperate by releasing their dollar holdings onto the market. On the same day, the Financial Supervisory Service warned major domestic securities firms of the toughest penalties, including business suspensions if illegal activities are uncovered. Securities firms have posted record-high commission revenue from January through November amid a boom in foreign investments and aggressive marketing, including zero-fee trading promotions. However, firms have been criticized for neglecting investor protection as roughly half of retail investors recorded losses. In response to the warning, some major firms have suspended fresh marketing campaigns aimed at promoting overseas investments. With just days left until the end of 2025, if this year's $1 exchange rate closes higher than last year's end rate of 1,472.51, it will be the highest year-end rate since 1997. Park Jun-han, Arirang News.
South Korea has hosted a record number of foreign travelers thus far this year, and a special event at Incheon International Airport earlier today sought to celebrate this milestone. Our Kim Do-yeon has this report.
Charmaine Lee, a Singaporean national, walks through the gate at Incheon Airport and is surprised by an overwhelming greeting. This is because she just became 18,500,000th visitor to South Korea this year. This is the first time the nation has seen such a number. But for Charmaine, this isn't her first time in Korea.
So I kind of visit Korea once a year, so probably more than 10 right now.
This event came on Tuesday morning as, according to the tourism ministry, the nation is expected to welcome even more foreign visitors this year, exceeding 18.7 million. The last record was set in 2019 prior to the COVID-19 pandemic at 17.5 million. But with COVID hitting the world in 2020, numbers fell and started picking up again until this peak this year.
With the global rise of popularity for K-culture, for many tourists, South Korea became a country to visit right now instead of a country to visit in the future.
The Vice Minister also attributed the strategic use of K-culture, global marketing, and market diversification. Especially with K-Pop Demon Hunters, the government believes the numbers have gone up, but also the way Korea is toured has changed.
It shows in the numbers that K-Pop Demon Hunters affect the nation's tourism. It also affects the quality of tourism. Before, it was more focused on duty-free spending, but now visitors focus on enjoying Korean culture here.
As for specific nationalities, China topped the list. Arrivals from China saw a sharp rise in July and August, driven by women in their 20s to 40s. Visitors from Taiwan increased by 27% on year, setting a new record for that market, while Japanese tourist numbers reached 3.61 million, the highest figure since 2012. Long-haul markets also showed strength, with visitors from the Americas and Oceania growing 14%, following the expansion of flight routes. The Vice Minister also added that next year's goal is 20 million and 30 million by 2030. He also said there is a long way to go, as most tourism is done in the capital region and the return rate is relatively low. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Staying with tourism, but moving across the border, North Korea has reportedly opened 5 hotels near Baekdusan Mountain as part of plans to promote its tourism in hopes of racking in a much-needed foreign currency. Ian reports.
North Korea's state-run news agency KCNA reported on Tuesday that opening ceremonies were held over 2 days for 5 newly inaugurated modern hotels in the Baekdusan Mountain area. In the Samjiyon Tourism District, 2 hotels were opened on December 20th and 3 more on December 21st. As this is a part of leader Kim Jong-un's push to develop the area into an attractive mountainous tourist zone, he attended the events himself, touring the guest rooms, restaurants, and swimming pools. Kim expressed his satisfaction that all elements are at a high level. Praising the facilities for combining practicality, variety, and artistic design, he emphasized the utter importance of the service quality and staff professionalism that these hotels provide. The newly opened hotel appears to be equipped not only with a flashy exterior, but also with a range of facilities, including luxury guest rooms, banquet halls, a sauna, and an outdoor heated swimming pool. Kim also vowed to further transform Samjiyon into a model city representing the country's tourism culture. According to photos reported by the state media, there was signage labeled Press Center, suggesting that the hotel was designed with the possibility of hosting large-scale events or international academic conferences in mind. Also in the photos, Kim's daughter Chue accompanied her father to the inauguration ceremonies. With the exception of some 880 Russian tourists to North Korea throughout the year of 2024, it wasn't until early 2025 when limited international tourism was reopened after the North's borders had been completely sealed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Earlier this year in July, another tourism site was launched along the eastern coast of North Korea, the maritime seaside Wonsan-Galma Coastal Tourist Zone. Kim Jong-un's growing push for tourism in North Korea is in line with the regime's efforts to secure much-needed foreign currency amid international sanctions. Iunjin, Arirang News.
South Korean space company INNOSPACE's commercial launch vehicle Hanbit Nano lifted off from Alcantara Space Center in Brazil at 10:13 p.m. local time on Monday, but exploded shortly afterward. INNOSPACE will, however, attempt a second commercial launch in the first half of next year, based on the experience gained from Monday's failure. Through a shareholder letter, INNOSPACE founder and CEO Kim Soo-jong said the company was refraining from drawing conclusions for now. Instead, it is concentrating on identifying and validating issues observed during the actual flight, with results to be released soon.
Even though the cold has eased off a bit, winter rain has been falling across the country today. Most areas will have about 5 to 20 millimeters of rainfall. In colder areas, including northern inland areas of Gyeonggi-do province and the mountainous areas and inland areas of Gangwon-do province, 1 to 5 centimeters of snow is expected. The weather will stay relatively mild through Christmas Eve. However, on Christmas Day, temperatures will stay below freezing all day, with a feels-like temperature dropping to -7 degrees Celsius in Seoul. Tomorrow morning, Seoul will start off at 1 degree, Gwangju at 7 degrees. Daily highs will rise to 6 degrees in Seoul and Chuncheon, 13 degrees in Busan. Friday morning, temperatures are expected to plunge to -12 degrees Celsius, bringing a strong cold wave. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. From all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night.